Hello and welcome everybody to Topless Topics, the channel that seeks to highlight the blatant sexism, misogyny, and transphobia of gender-based censorship, one heinous female nipple at a time. I am your host Cleo, and today I thought it would be fun to roll the camera while I process my own internal conflict against what it's like to be a top free equality advocate, thinking that everyone deserves the right to go topless online and in public without getting banned for sexually explicit nudity, not just men, versus why I feel anxious at the idea of my 8-year-old son going out in public wearing a crop top. Yeah. I do want to warn you that I did not really write a script for this. I did jot down a couple of points that I wanted to get to, but I have lately been trying to actually write scripts for my videos so they're not quite as rambly, but I'm in the middle of doing taxes and I didn't want to take that much time, plus I just kind of wanted to talk about this while the subject was on my mind, and who knows, maybe have some revelations even as I'm talking about it on camera. So forewarning, this is probably going to be pretty rambly, but yeah, let's dive in, shall we? So this morning I was helping my kids get ready for school, and for the record, they are about to turn 7 and about to turn 9, so first grade and third grade, and both have long hair. And my older child, he says that he's non-binary. He's been saying that for a couple of years now, but he says he doesn't care about pronouns. He says you can say he, she, they, he doesn't care. So that's why I say he. If he says that he wants me to use a different pronoun, I'll start using that pronoun. So he doesn't care about gender at all. His brother goes back and forth. Sometimes he gets very sensitive when people say that they refer to him as a girl, because apparently having long hair is all it takes to be categorized as a female, regardless of the color or kind of clothing they're wearing. Like, they will wear the most stereotypical boy clothing, but people see that long hair and they go, "Oh, she's so cute." And personally, to me, it's kind of like, why are you assuming that? Anyway, so for context, my kids are born male, but constantly get mistaken for female. The crop tops in general, it's very weird. Like, the more that I think about how I can have these two conflicting ideals, or not ideals, but, ideas of everyone deserves the right to go topless online and in public without getting, banned as sexually explicit or whatever, versus I don't want my 8-year-old child who's constantly mistaken for a girl to go out wearing partial clothing. And honestly, the only thing that I can really conclude is that it comes from our society's sexualization of people perceived as female, basically from infancy. And I mean, this is something that plenty of other people have pointed out. For instance, when I did my interview with Jessie Gender a month or two ago, and she was talking about how she had a conversation with another influencer who has kids, and they weren't on video or whatever, but the influencer was talking to her about how the influencer, noticed that the way people would talk about his kids, his son and his daughter, were very, very different. With the son, they're talking about like, "Oh, he's so smart, oh, he's so creative, blah, blah, blah." With the girl, it's, "Oh, she's so pretty, she's so beautiful." And it's so baked into our society that it's one of those things that most people do and they don't even notice. And I mean, it is changing a little bit. I think that we are starting to break down the ideas of rigid gender norms and everything like that. Of course, with the rise of Trumpism and conservative Project 2025 and the war against trans people, and all these corporations immediately backpedaling and for some reason catering to the conservatives. That part of it, the capitalist part of it, the governmental part of it, is obviously not getting better about gender. But I think as far as attitudes among, non-rich, non-politicians, it is slowly getting better. Echo chamber, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but we still have this place in our evolution as a society where a lot of things that really aren't right have to be acknowledged before they can be improved upon. Again, if you have never watched my videos before, my main focus is, like it says in the beginning, highlighting the blatant sexism, misogyny, and transphobia of gender-based censorship, because it's insane to me that it is 2025 and yet there are still basically no websites that don't allow full nudity, that allow anyone to be topless, not just men. And almost all the ones that do allow full nudity also allow porn. So you can't really find a place online where female nipples are visible that you can't also watch porn. Therefore, the link between female nipples and explicit sexual activity is very hard for people to even notice, let alone question. And so it's very frustrating that we're in this place where it's very hard to advocate for something like that. And then, you know, in person, I'm not going to get too into it because I've talked about these things in other videos already, but basically, you know, even in the handful of real world places where women can go topless just like men, so New York and Canada, women rarely do it because they don't want to have photos and videos of themselves put online for people to masturbate to, for friends and coworkers and stuff to possibly find out and freak out about, or just simply, you know, find out that they were at the park without a shirt. Like, there's a lot that goes on beyond just like wanting to be topless just like a man, you know, not in a sexual way, but just like, it's fucking hot, it's hot right now, you know. I was out walking the dogs right before I started recording and it's somehow jumped to like almost 90 degrees outside, at least it feels like that. I would love to be topless just like a man, but of course if I tried to do that, I would get arrested or worse. Anyway, talking about unwanted photos, that actually gets back to what I wanted to talk about in this video, why I feel so opposed to the idea of my, albeit male, you know, assigned male at birth, not necessarily male presenting, and again, getting into the long hair thing. Like, my younger son, for instance, he doesn't call himself non-binary. He says he's a boy or whatever. But society still looks at him and says, oh, he's got long hair, therefore he's a girl. I'm still waiting for the day when we go to a beach or a pool or something and my kids are, you know, shirtless because they're male, so they're allowed to, and some, you know, mom or dad or whatever comes up to me and is like, I can't believe your daughter is out there without a shirt, that's so sexual. And I get to see their face when I go, actually, that's my son. And see what they say. See that moment where their brain short circuits and either they assume that they're trans because they have long hair, because for a lot of people it's so inconceivable that they could be mistaken in their opinion, their initial opinion of someone's gender, rather than just like realize, like I've seen the, oh my god, this video's all over the place, but I've seen the illusion, the metaphor of a dog. Someone is walking the dog and you go, oh, she's so cute, and the person says actually it's a boy, and you go, oh, he's so cute. You know, you just change that easily, versus how humans tend to treat each other, where we have these very rigid ideas where we look at someone and we're like, that person looks male, that person looks female, and even if they tell you I'm actually a woman or whatever, like, you have to like stop and redirect your brain, and there's this whole issue of like, you know, trans women not being femme enough and trans men not being masc enough and like all this other stuff. In fact, I actually stumbled on a video essay just yesterday that I thought was really, really good, and I will link to it in the description. I think it's called Why Gen Z is the Most Homophobic Generation or something like that, that goes into this detail about like queer people kind of policing each other to be queer in the right way. So I'll link to that. Anyway, back to the photos. We live in a society, we live in a period of human history that is uniquely dangerous to children as far as sexualization goes, in that, yes, you know, it's illegal to have child brides and stuff like that, except in certain states where they keep trying to lower the age of consent, and, you know, actually doing things to kids obviously is illegal. Having photos and videos of kids on your computer or whatever of them being, you know, sexualized is illegal. But now we have AI. Now we have an effortless tool where any fucking pervert, any fucking pedophile can literally just get one of these softwares and maybe plug in the face of a child that they're attracted to and then be like, you know, give me this child doing whatever. There are guardrails on most of the corporate-owned AI so far that supposedly prevents them from creating materials like this, but you can look up, there's already plenty of articles about people finding ways around that, and as the AI world explodes, which, you know, unfortunately is, and more companies come out, especially ones not hosted in the US, it's getting easier and easier for people to find ways to use AI to effortlessly make sexual content of children. And it's different than with Photoshop, because first of all, Photoshop actually took effort, and also you know, you would have to put a lot of work into like taking a child's face, and you know, I don't even want to think about it. But it took a lot more work than show me blank face doing blank sexual act, you know? That's the thing. We're in a horrible spot. And the thing about that as well is that kids having their face on the internet at all is also a contentious topic, and it's one that I have changed my opinions over the years as, you know, the ease of people doing sexual things or creating sexual imagery of children has evolved. As far as being topless myself goes, yes, it's really fucking shitty that men can just like look at me, you know, if you go to my website so you can see my patriarchy unfriendly version of this video, because if you're watching on YouTube, I cut it off here. Hopefully my shoulders aren't too sexy for YouTube. It really sucks that I can't just sit here without a shirt without 95% of the people who find my videos, mostly men, jacking off, treating it as sexual. However, I'm an adult. I'm an adult and I am making the decision to put this imagery of myself on the internet, even though I know it will be treated as sexual by 99.9% of the people who find it, because I think it's important to highlight, to make people think about how fucking bullshit gender-based censorship is, and I do feel like being one of the extremely rare unicorn representations of female nipples not in a sexual situation is a key element of how we maybe someday, 1,000 years in the future, achieve a place where women can be, you know, people who look female can be topless online and in public exactly like people who look male are able to without getting banned, arrested, censored, labeled, etc. as sexually explicit nudity, or even just not as nudity in general. That's the goal, you know. Men can go around without a shirt on fucking Instagram, beach, everywhere. No one's like, oh my god, they're naked! But female, you know, people who look female, we can't have our nipples visible at all without American society being like, they're fully naked. That person is, the female nipples are equivalent to the fucking man's penis. Obviously, that's, anyway. Back to the topic of my child. So I'm at this place where I'm really trying to question my own biases, and this is something that I'm constantly trying to advocate for in my videos, in my conversations with people, in my unsolicited advice to younger people when I'm talking to them, that I don't want to tell you how to think. I don't think anyone, when it comes to like opinions about, you know, whatever, gender, how to raise your child or whatever, I don't think anyone should say this is the 100% way that it should be done. This is the 100% reality. What I want people to do is exercise critical thinking. I want you to take this thing, this belief that you have, and I want you to think about it and figure out why you feel that way. Does it make sense to you that female nipples are always qualified as sexually explicit nudity while male nipples aren't? Or is that a holdover from puritanical, patriarchal society that doesn't make sense? Similarly, what makes something sexual or not? If a, 8-year-old boy with long hair, so everyone always thinks he's a girl, goes topless at the beach, does it become sexual because people look at the long hair and assume he's female? Or as long as they know he's male, then it's not sexual? Like, and the other thing about my child wearing a crop top versus wearing nothing at all on his shirt, on his chest, gets into the idea of strip teasing. And this is something also that I've had other people bring up in interviews that I've done with them. The one I'm thinking of particularly is the Normalizing Nudity channel, who is this YouTuber who has a channel, and actually might have been banned by now, I don't know. I did this video like 4 or 5 years ago. But anyway, he has this channel where he interviews fully naked people about nudism, about, non-sexual nudity, social nudity, whatever. And it's infuriating because, again, he might have gotten this channel banned at this point, but when I interviewed him, this channel had already been up for years, and I know it was up for years after that, where he will have fully naked people, including women, answering these questions, fully uncensored. They don't get banned on YouTube. I took a clip from an exchange video with him where I did the similar thing, and I answered, this question. He puts it on his website. I took a clip of that, and I put it up on YouTube, and his fully uncensored version of that video didn't get banned. I did censor mine. I put a mosaic effect blur under my entire body, under my shoulders, and my video got banned. Anyway, I did an interview with him, and I asked him if he had ever been censored online, and he said that, interestingly, at that point, if I'm remembering the interview correctly, the only video he'd ever had banned was when it was a woman wearing a partial shirt. Like her breasts were still visible, but it was like, you know, it was like a button up, like partially open or throw or something like that. That's the one that got banned, but the fully naked ones didn't. Now, algorithms are extremely unpredictable, and, you know, bless you, sweet summer child, if you think that censorship online is actually equally enforced. See my page, toplesstopics.org/banned, for hundreds of screenshots proving that I get banned to a degree that nobody else does on every platform you've heard of, and some you haven't. There definitely is an element where, you know, you have implied nudity, as they call it on Instagram and stuff, where, like, wearing a shirt, somehow that's not implied nudity, because as we all know, female nipples stop existing if you're wearing a shirt. But if I were to, like, have a guitar like this, or, like, be holding a bowl of fruit, or add a digital pasty or something, all of a sudden it's implied nudity, and it does get banned. And it's kind of the same thing where, you know, wearing a shirt like that woman was, where it was partial clothes, partial nudity, according to the patriarchy. Female nipples are naked, but male nipples aren't. And I think that crop tops get into that territory, where it's like, you're kind of revealing, you're not revealing this part, which for the YouTube audience, I'm putting my hands in front of my heinous female nipples. You know, you're not quite showing the sacred, you know, taboo spot, but you're getting closer and closer, and closer. And I'm not saying, like, what was she wearing or anything like that. Obviously, like, there's never an excuse to sexually harass someone of any age. And, you know, this attitude of, like, well, women have to have all these restrictions on us so that we don't tempt men, rather than put the onus on men to just fucking keep it in their pants. I'm not advocating for that at all. But as a mother, knowing that there's people out there who are going to see my 8-year-old child that they mistakenly think is a girl, although, you know, plenty of people out there sexualizing male children too, and non-binary children, so, you know, don't get me wrong, there's pedophiles of every stripe out there. The idea of people seeing my 8-year-old, perceived as female, wearing a crop top where it's, like, almost showing her, in their eyes, her nipples, makes me deeply uncomfortable. And yet, again, I honestly don't know how to reconcile my fears of people sexually objectifying my children with the fact that people will sexually objectify anything. I mean, you know, there's foot fetishists, there's smoking fetish, like anything that any person can do, any body part that anyone can show, someone out there is going to sexualize it. And children get sexualized regardless of what they wear as well. So it doesn't honestly make sense for me to be opposed to my 8-year-old wearing a crop top, but I still, like, I try to imagine, you know, letting him just go out wearing a crop top, and I would honestly rather him be fully shirtless than wearing a crop top. And even that, like, when we do go to pools and stuff like that, or it's hot outside or whatever, my kids are little nudists. They love being naked. Like, they come home and they immediately take their clothes off. Sometimes it's very frustrating because I'll be like, hey, we're gonna go out again in an hour, can you keep your clothes on? And they'll just take them off anyway. So they have no shame, they have no, you know, they don't associate nudity with being sexual or anything like that. But when it comes to nipples, I explicitly tell my kids, it is not fair that because you were born with a penis, you're allowed to go without a shirt and I'm not. That is not fair. And the kids will agree, but my 8-year-old will still go out without a shirt. And it always kind of frustrates me. And, like, we've had situations where, like, in our backyard we have a big old trampoline, and he'll go out there, and a lot of his neighborhood friends are girls. And there have been a couple of times where he went shirtless, so the girl went shirtless. And I wouldn't care, but I'm worried about their parents caring, because unfortunately, most people in America just do not question the whole categorization of gender, you know, nipple-based whatever. There's also the fact that we have 4 different sets of neighbors who can see into our backyard, and at least one of them are dyed-in-the-wool Trumpers, who are generally not going to be pro, you know, female equality or anything like that. And it's just, I don't know. One of the points I did write down, and again, apologies that this video is, like, very rambly, but, you know, like I said, I just wanted to talk about it while it was on top of my head, is the idea of full body nudity of children in general. And I actually wrote a script like a week or two ago. I had a conversation with my kids, and it so inspired me that I just sat down and banged out a script. And actually, I think it sounds okay. I haven't recorded it yet, but basically inspired by a conversation with my kids about wanting to go to Lake Bronson, which is a nudist resort up north of Seattle that I went to when I was a teenager with my parents, and I really enjoyed it, and I always meant to go back, and especially, you know, when my parents were still alive. If you didn't know, my mom died 4 years ago, and my dad died in November, so I'm officially an orphan. You know, I was born and raised a nudist, so I never was like, oh my god, nudity sucks, you know, whatever. And I brought up the idea of going back there, and my 8-year-old, the one that I'm mostly talking about in this video, he was so psyched at the idea. He will bring up on his own, like, I want to go somewhere where I can be naked outside. And I'm like, I am so sorry, sweetie, but there are very few places that you can do that. And obviously, because he's a child, I feel that much more anxious about him being, you know, even having his chest visible, but certainly having his whole body visible anywhere that isn't vetted. And that's the thing about like clothing optional beaches and everything like that, is that there's no background checks or anything. Anyone can go there. And that is the one big benefit of nudist resorts, is that by and large they have background checks, they have, you know, criteria that you have to go through to be able to go there. No, it doesn't catch all the pedophiles, but it hopefully does cut out the majority of them. And so that, you know, that's the big benefit of going. Versus my 6-year-old, who at first was like, no, I don't want to go, I don't want to be naked, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't even know where that came from, because, again, he's naked at home a lot, but the idea of being out around other people naked, like, freaked him out. And then he, like, slowly changed his mind and came around to it all of a sudden. But yeah, so I wrote a script about that conversation that I'm going to turn into a video someday. But it comes back to the crop top thing, where it's like, yes, first of all, ban all nipples or no nipples. Like, it doesn't make sense to say that female nipples are nudity and male nipples aren't. And also, just because someone's naked doesn't mean they're being sexual. So if someone is naked and you're, like, getting turned on or whatever like that, that's a you problem. You seeing a body and being like, that's sexual, I physically cannot not be turned on by that, that's a you problem, and I should not have to feel like I have to cover my body so that you don't get turned on. You can learn to a little self-control if that's the issue. At the same time, I do want to protect my kids. And at the same time, that might be impossible. We are getting to a place where it doesn't matter how careful you are, like, you never post videos or photos of your kids or anything like that. Cell phone cameras, anyone, you know, if you leave the house at all with your child, not like wearing shades and a mask or anything like that, anyone could take their picture. Anyone could do whatever they want with that picture. Anyone could put that picture online. And, you know, especially with AI, like facial recognition and stuff, and it's like 9,000 times worse if you're famous, if you're a celebrity, if you're an influencer or whatever. Like, there are celebrities who, you know, in the old days, some of them would actually keep their kids very secret. Like, you know, I don't know how they stopped the paparazzi from taking the pictures, but they, you know, you don't even know what a lot of celebrities, older celebrities' kids look like. Now you have influencers who get noticed everywhere, and people with all their cell phone cameras will be like, oh my god, it's so-and-so. If they're out with their kids, those kids' photos and videos are going to end up on the internet. So it might just genuinely be impossible to completely prevent perverts and pedophiles from taking an image of your child and turning it into porn. That's the reality. So I don't know what to do. Basically, this is not an advice video. This is a vulnerability of the parallel, the dichotomy, the paradox of being a topless equality activist, of thinking that all genders should have the same right, and also being a normalized nudity activist. Like, it's not the same thing as wanting the same rights as men, but I also think that people should be allowed to be non-sexually naked without it being considered sexually explicit, but also wanting to protect my children from being turned into porn. What a world! What a world, right? So, I don't really know how to end this. I guess this has been a fairly dark video, but this is the kind of thing that we do have to think about. This is the kind of thing that we have to weigh the pros and cons of and be real about the chances of what might happen. You know, as a influencer myself. I mean, I don't make any money. Like, I literally just did my taxes, and I spend more on recording equipments than I earn in a year on Patreon, so don't think I'm, like, famous or anything. But, you know, enough that every once in a while someone will actually recognize me from my videos, especially if it's like something like VidCon, where, yes, I am going again this year. And actually this year my kids are coming with me for the first time ever. I bought tickets for them, but I don't think they're really going to want to go to most of the events because frankly they're little and panels are boring even for adults. But you know, they might come to like the prom, whatever it's called, with me and stuff like that. There are occasionally people who do recognize me, and again, like, the scale of people recognizing me, as tiny as I am, especially since, you know, you have to actually, like, leave YouTube to see the patriarchy unfriendly versions of my videos. You have to leave Instagram because you won't be able to, like, 90% of what I post to YouTube and Instagram and everything gets banned even when I do fully censor everything out. That's a whole thing. I just try to imagine what it must be like for these influencers who have millions of followers, who have, you know, very passionate fans who, if they see them in public, feel like, oh, I have to record them, you know? Like, I feel there is I'm just gonna wrap this video up and now here I am going off again, but anyway, I noticed that there is a rising backlash against recording people, just like regular people, without their permission. Luckily, which is good, because, you know, there was this thing for a while where it was like, oh, look at this sad old man eating food by himself. Let's record and put sad music over it, put it on TikTok and make him TikTok famous without him even knowing. That's obviously very shitty. Glad that there's backlash against that. But I don't think we are ever going to get quite to the same level with people who are already all over the internet. It's like with cosplayers, how, you know, there is cosplayer etiquette. You're not supposed to just snap their picture without asking. You're definitely not supposed to touch them or whatever. But a lot of people still will just take a picture of a cosplayer in passing, or they'll, like, you know, grab their props or whatever like that. And that's specific to conventions where there are cosplayers. People, you know, normal people who don't go to anime conventions and stuff don't know anything about that kind of etiquette. So if they're just watching someone's videos on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, does TikTok still exist? I thought it got banned. I don't know. I don't even care about TikTok anymore. If they see someone out in the wild that they think that they think of as, you know, that's famous, and that person's with their kids, they're going to record it and they're going to put it online. So, boom. Doesn't matter what the influencer themselves did. They're all of a sudden photos and videos of their kids are out there. And, you know, internet being what the internet is, anyone can do anything with those photos. So, all right. I actually am done this time. What do you think? What do you think about how do you not live in the fear of controlling all your actions based on who might sexualize or otherwise judge you, versus keeping your kids safe in a world where you basically can't 100% guarantee that no one will ever take their photo and use AI to make it into porn. How do you do that? How do you do that? I'm genuinely asking for advice, because I kind of feel like we're fucked either way. Yeah, pretty depressing. So, yeah, like I said, I will be in VidCon in June in Anaheim. We weren't originally planning to go, but Matthew wanted to go visit family in San Diego, and it was like, well, if we're going to go down there, we might as well stay at Anaheim for VidCon as well. And like I said, my whole family's coming with me this time, my husband and my kids, and then my husband's sister and her partner are going to be there. So it'll be fun. My kids will probably spend most of the time playing at the pool. But so if you do happen to be going to VidCon as well, I would love to hang out. I would love to say hello. I don't know how busy I'll be, but, you know, and if you know, I don't care if you're already a fan of the channel or anything like that. Like, I love meeting new people and having interesting conversations. So let me know if you're going to VidCon. And I also stream a lot. I live stream a lot, in case you didn't know. My current schedule as of April 2025 is that on Fridays I stream to Twitch under my gaming channel name, which is Ceri Got Game, C-E-R-I Got Game, where I play video games. I do, you know, patriarchy safe art. This Friday, so tomorrow, I'm actually thinking of streaming while I fix up my new bearded dragons cage. We adopted him a week ago from someone who got sick, and I bought a bunch of like sand and stuff, so I want to try to like make a bioactive enclosure for him, because I really like stuff like that. Like, I just recently made a pretty bomb-ass looking paludarium, if I do say so myself. And then I stream Tuesdays at joystick.tv/u/topics, which, as I was saying earlier, the only places on the internet that you can see female nipples are porn sites. And unfortunately, joystick.tv is a porn site. I don't do porn, I don't do anything sexual, but that is where I will stream while I'm editing a video like this, or sometimes I'm, you know, recording a video, talking about stuff, just doing Q&A, drawing patriarchy unsafe art, so anything with female nipples visible, like pages for my Day in the Life of a Top Free Activist webcomic. So anyway, that's on Tuesdays at joystick.tv/u/topics. If you want to help me out financially, which is much appreciated, because I do not make money at this stuff, as I frequently say, I'm banned from monetization when I'm not banned outright, and sponsors won't return my emails, so all the normal free methods of making money, you know, not asking money directly from my viewers, are not an option to me. I do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/topics. I also have artistic nude photos that you can buy from topistopics.gumroad.com. Please don't jack off to them. If you do, don't tell me about it. And finally, we have a Discord chat room that's pretty fun. I know everybody has a Discord, and I understand I'm on like 35 and I only ever check like 2 of them. But if you do want to talk to other topics equality supporters or nudists, we have a lot of nudists in the room, even though I have a room specifically for nudism, so it doesn't dominate the conversation all the time. Or like video games, current politics, you know, just meeting other people, queer support and friendship and everything like that. You can join it at topistopics.org/chat. And yeah, that's about it. Okay, I should probably finish taxes considering they're due in like 3 days. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye!